Hey there, fellow gardeners, welcome back to Soil Sorcery Studio. I'm thrilled you're here because today we're diving into one of the most debated topics in gardening circles, raw manure versus composted manure. You've probably heard that manure is good for your garden, but what if I told you there's a massive difference between the two? One could supercharge your soil and give your plants the nutrition they crave, while the other might be doing more harm than good. Stick around as we dig deep into a head-to-head soil test that reveals which amendment truly deserves a place in your gardening arsenal. By the end of this guide, you'll have the knowledge to make an informed decision that transforms your garden from struggling to thriving. Let's get our hands dirty, the dirt on dirt, why manure matters. Before we pit raw manure against its composted counterpart, let's talk about why manure has been the gardener's secret weapon for centuries. The reason is simple. Manure is an incredibly nutrient-dense organic material that adds both immediate nourishment and long-term soil structure benefits to your garden beds. Gardeners everywhere have sung its praises, and for good reason. Manure introduces nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and countless micronutrients that plants absolutely need to grow strong and productive. However, here's where things get interesting. Not all manure is created equal, and the application method matters tremendously. Most gardeners understand that manure improves soil, but many don't realize that the decomposition state of that manure dramatically affects how safely and effectively it works in your garden. This is where our head-to-head comparison becomes invaluable. Understanding the distinct characteristics, benefits, and drawbacks of raw versus composted manure will help you make choices that lead to healthier soil, more vigorous plants, and fewer gardening headaches. The question isn't just whether manure is good, it's about which form of manure is right for your specific gardening situation. Let's establish what we're actually comparing. Raw manure is fresh, largely undecayed animal waste that has just been removed from the barnyard or pasture. It's still in its most volatile state, teeming with active microbial life and loaded with nutrients that haven't yet been stabilized by the decomposition process. When you use raw manure, you're adding material that still has significant biological and chemical transformation ahead of it. Composted manure, on the other hand, is that same manure after it has undergone weeks or months of controlled decomposition. The composting process subjects the raw material to microbial activity, heat generation, and careful management, breaking down the volatile compounds into stable humus. What emerges is a dark, crumbly, earthy-smelling product that looks and behaves like finished compost, far different from where it started. The benefits of raw manure are enticing to many gardeners. It's rich in nitrogen and other nutrients that plants need, and if you're willing to use it correctly, it can dramatically feed your soil over time. The downside, however, is significant. Raw manure can burn plant roots with its high concentration of nitrogen salts, essentially oversalting the soil and damaging delicate root systems. Additionally, raw manure hasn't been through the heat treatment that kills pathogens like E. coli and salmonella, nor has it sterilized weed seeds. This means you could inadvertently introduce disease and persistent weeds into your carefully maintained garden beds. Composted manure offers a completely different profile. It's safer for immediate use around plants because the nutrients have been transformed into slow-release forms that won't scald roots. The composting process generates heat that kills most pathogens and weed seeds, making it a far more sanitary choice for vegetable gardens and edible landscapes. Perhaps most importantly, composted manure improves soil structure directly. It adds stable humus that increases water retention, improves aeration, and creates an ideal habitat for beneficial microorganisms. The trade-off is that you need to source it or make it yourself, which requires planning and patience. To truly understand which amendment performs better, we need to understand the science beneath the soil surface. Raw manure is nutrient-rich but not plant-available. When you apply raw manure to your garden, the nitrogen, phosphorus and other nutrients are mostly locked in organic forms that plants cannot absorb. Microorganisms in the soil must break these down through mineralization, a process that takes weeks or even months. During this active decomposition phase, microbes are consuming carbon and nitrogen at a rapid rate. Here's the catch. As they consume this nitrogen for their own growth and reproduction, they temporarily immobilize it, making it unavailable to your plants. This phenomenon, called nitrogen immobilization, can actually create a temporary nitrogen deficiency in your garden bed, starving your plants during a critical growth period. Furthermore, raw manure is highly concentrated in soluble salts. The high ammonia content alone can damage plant roots, causing chemical burn before plants ever have a chance to utilize the nutrients. This is especially problematic if you apply raw manure directly around young plants or in containers where dilution is limited. The application rate becomes critical with raw manure. Too much and you're creating an inhospitable environment. Too little and you're not getting the benefits you're after. Composted manure operates on an entirely different biochemical principle. During composting, thermophilic, so heat-loving bacteria and fungi have already done the heavy lifting of breaking down raw organic matter. The nutrients have been partially mineralized and stabilized into humic compounds that, release slowly as soil microbes continue their work. This slow-release quality means nutrients become available to plants gradually throughout the growing season, providing a steady diet rather than a feast or famine scenario. Because the nutrient concentrations are lower and stabilized, there's virtually no risk of nitrogen burn. Your plants can absorb what they need when they need it. The microbial activity difference is, honestly, pretty profound. Raw manure introduces a chaotic influx of microorganisms that are actively competing and consuming resources. Composted manure, conversely, has already developed a stable microbial community. When you add finished compost to your soil, you're introducing beneficial microorganisms that are established, diverse, and ready to partner with your plants. It's like giving your garden a team of tiny helpers eager to get to work. These microbes form mycorrhizal relationships with plant roots, helping them access nutrients and water more efficiently. This biological collaboration is one of the most underrated benefits of composted manure. It's truly fascinating how nature has its own way of ensuring plants thrive. The visible evidence in soil tests reinforces this science. Soil amended with raw manure initially shows high nutrient levels, but those nutrients are largely unavailable in their organic forms. It's a reminder that not all nutrients are immediately beneficial, and the transformation process is key. As weeks pass and decomposition proceeds, the nutrients gradually become available, but the timing is unpredictable and the plant availability variable. Soil amended with composted manure shows more consistent nutrient availability from day one, with better soil structure, improved water infiltration, and more stable pH levels. The dark color and crumbly texture of compost-amended soil indicates excellent humus content and biological activity, the hallmarks of truly healthy living soil. Based on both the visible evidence and the scientific principles at work, composted manure emerges as the superior choice for most gardening situations. So, here's why composted manure is so great. It delivers nutrients right when your plants need them, without the risk of burning their roots or introducing any harmful pathogens. It improves soil structure almost immediately and creates a biological environment that really supports plant health. You can apply it confidently around young transplants, in vegetable beds where you'll be harvesting food, and even in containers where nutrient concentration really matters. The finished product is honestly a nearly universal soil amendment that works beautifully in just about any gardening context. That said, raw manure isn't worthless, it just, requires different application strategies. If you're willing to apply raw manure in the off-season, allowing it to decompose over winter or during a fallow period before planting, it becomes an economical and effective amendment. Spread it on garden beds in fall or early spring, give it several months to break down and integrate with the soil, and by the time your growing season arrives, you'll have the benefits of decomposed manure without the risks. For farmers and large-scale gardeners working with sprawling acreage, this approach makes economic sense, and for the home gardener trying to maximize productivity and minimize problems, composted manure is the clear winner. If you don't have access to quality composted manure, consider making your own. Start a simple compost pile with aged manure brown materials like shredded leaves or straw and kitchen scraps. In 3 to 6 months, depending on your climate and management, you'll have finished compost that's perfect for your garden. Alternatively, source composted manure from reputable garden centers or landscaping suppliers who properly compost their material. When you're evaluating a product, look for that dark brown color, earthy aroma, and crumbly texture. If it still smells strongly of ammonia or hasn't aged at least 2 to 3 months, well, keep looking for a better option. For those committed to using raw manure, make sure it's aged at least 1 year before direct application. It's really important to give it that time. Apply it thickly in fall, work it into the top few inches of soil, and let winter weather and soil microbes do the decomposition. Never apply fresh manure less than 60 to 90 days before harvesting vegetables. This waiting period allows decomposition to progress and significantly reduces pathogen risks. It's all about timing, Now that you understand the science and the practical implications of choosing between raw and composted manure, it's time to put this knowledge into action. I challenge you to run your own mini experiment. Set aside 2 similar garden beds or containers, amend one with raw manure and another with composted manure, then document what happens over the next several months. Keep notes on plant appearance, growth rate, soil structure, and any challenges you encounter. The hands-on learning you gain will be invaluable for your gardening journey. If you found this guide helpful and want to develop a deeper relationship with your soil, please subscribe to Soil Sorcery Studio for more in-depth gardening wisdom. Share this guide with fellow gardeners in your community. I'd love to hear about your own manure experiments and which choice worked best for your garden. Drop a comment below with your results or your questions about soil amendment strategies. Your feedback drives our future content, and your gardening success is what truly matters to us here at Soil Sorcery Studio. Happy gardening, and may your soil be ever fertile.